Hi, I'm Veli from Greenwood Academy. Today we're going to be talking about agrivoltaics, which is effectively the melding of renewable energy, specifically solar in this case, and growing of crops and, of course, allowing livestock to graze between the rows of panels. So we're talking ground mount situation. Before we get stuck into it, just a reminder to like, comment and subscribe so we can make more of these videos. And don't forget to subscribe to Greenwood Academy, where we offer online training, CPD points, both paid and free. Let's get stuck into it. Most of us are aware of the large-scale ground mount systems that dot not only Australia but other countries with high solar irradiance. In many cases, these solar farms are on arable land. And some people in the community have expressed concerns about the potential displacement away from traditional agricultural pursuits. An idea to combat these fears is the concept of agrivoltaics. Now, according to Wikipedia, this technique was originally conceived by Adolf Gutzberger, hopefully I pronounced his name correctly, in 1981. It's the utilisation of the space between and under the PV array in regard to growing forage crops and or allowing livestock to graze. The standard design of these solar farms, in some cases, is altered slightly, and one way is to raise the panels to a higher level, allowing potentially more light to reach under the panels. There's various ways. One, you can use is standard solar panels in a slightly different configuration, allowing more light to actually come down and hit the canopy of the crop that you're protecting. Or two, you can use some of the newer specifically designed agrivoltaic panels that actually have multiple strips, 1, 2 or 3 strips that allow a certain amount of light through. So what we're talking about is a mixed land proposition where farmers derive an income from the solar but can still utilise arable land and take advantage of the increased soil moisture levels and create microclimates that by default have been formed by the shading effects of the installed PV system. So it's not only a case of the panels shading the crop in the case of an agrivoltaic food crop perspective, but it's also the fact that you've got this thermal shield, and by design it is actually creating a microclimate in or around, specifically under it, which can really benefit some crops that previously couldn't have been grown in that particular geographical location. Areas that would benefit most from a crop-based agrivoltaic approach will likely be in water-limited areas with higher radiance. Solar panels can greatly reduce evapotranspiration and increase water use efficiency effectively by shading the ground. In turn, crops growing under and around solar panels help reduce radiant heat and increase the system's solar efficiency. Oregon State University researchers recently studied production and water use efficiency of grasses under a solar array in a sheep pasture. The solar array was 1 metre off the ground on the lower side. The pasture biomass increased from 90 and 126% compared to the control no solar panels, and water use efficiently increased by 300%. Now that's a fairly big claim, and obviously water efficiency and water use will vary depending on the configuration of the solar panels, the agrivoltaic array, and also the geographic area. But there is definitive evidence that there is improvements in these areas. The Oregon State study with lambs and solar panels was carried out in 2019 and 2020 at Oregon State's campus in Corvallis. Findings included the lambs gained almost the same amount of weight in the two pastures types in both years. The daily water consumption of the lambs in open pastures consumed more water than those grazed under solar panels in the late spring period. Overall, the return from grazing was a little over $1,000 per hectare. 1 hectare equals 2.47 acres per year in open pastures, and $1,029 per hectare per year in pastures with solar panels. And that's because there was effectively less pasture because of the solar panels being there. But as you can see, not that much difference. Now, here's the interesting point. The overall return is about the same, but it didn't take into account the energy the solar panels actually produce. You got your income from your sheep, but you've also got this income from this solar array, which aids the sheep and helps the sheep. There have also been additional benefits reported when it comes to livestock. Decreased lamb deaths due to predator bird attacks. Space under the panels provide a safe haven for birthing mothers. Other positive effects include lower ambient temperatures around the actual panels due to transpiration from the grasses and crops growing under or near the array, which has led to increased solar production. It's a very interesting area. Contrary to popular belief, sheep don't like being out in the hot sun all day, every day. And when it comes to the actual birth event, the fact that they're giving birth under the solar panel structure has resulted in less fox and animal attacks because the foxes are a bit wary of coming near man-made structures, let alone bird attacks, specifically in Australia. Wedge-tailed eagles do target birthing sheep, targeting the lambs, but because they're actually giving birth under the actual panels, they're less likely, the eagle's less likely to come down. So that's two really positive benefits from this agrivoltaic approach. A University of Arizona research team grew peppers and tomatoes under a solar array 3 metres high. Jalapeno plants under the solar panels produced the same amount of fruit as the control plants, but water use efficiency went up by 157%. Tomato yield doubled under the solar panels and water use efficiency increased by 65%. Now, corn grown under a low-density solar array in Japan outperformed corn grown under controlled conditions by over 5%. Now, obviously, any of this has an economic reality, and the farmer is looking, look, I've got this land, I've got an X amount of area, I've got 20 hectares, 30 hectares, whatever they've got. What is my return on this land? The farmer with substantial land holdings must, of course, do a cost-benefit analysis. They must calculate the exact value of each metre squared of land from a purely crop livestock perspective. And they weigh that against the advantages of a steady income stream from the solar farmer owner, and weigh that against the advantages of a steady income stream from the solar farm. In addition, the farmer may have large electrical loads of his own, so a smaller ground mount system to address the site's own consumption may be a viable option. A livestock farmer's income is dependent on many factors, which include geographic location in regards to markets, fertility of the land, health of the stock, floods and droughts. Not to mention feral animal attacks, stillbirths, disease, vaccination costs, damage to fencing, cost of water, and fluctuating export markets. Now, the advantages of farming the sun include, if there's a drought, doesn't affect the solar panel's ability to produce. If there's a flood, panels keep making energy. Depends on the depth of the flood, of course, but in most cases, the panels will still produce. Unlike stock, a photovoltaic system doesn't get sick, no vet bills. Systems keep on producing for a minimum of 25 years, and the price of electricity historically always increases. There's only a few certainties in the world, and that's death, taxes, and rising electricity bills. A solar system produces energy and has a value attached to it. Now, if the energy is used on site, it has one value, but if the energy is used off site, it has another. And there's such a thing called energy arbitrage, which is the buying of selling on the electricity wholesale market. Usually batteries are involved with energy arbitrage. Let's get back to it. Now, let's say you have 1 hectare of land. Now, each metre squared slice of land has a value based on its purchase price and has a value in its ability to generate an income. For the farmer, this is their livestock or crop, but it could be solar as well. According to a 2025 report, the median price of a hectare of land in 2024 was $14,000 in Victoria. This is Victoria, Australia. Now, this equates to approximately $1.40 per metre squared. 1 hectare, 10,000 square metres. Now, prices can vary. The areas with more sun tend to be cheaper per hectare, which is ideal for farming the sun. But in saying that, infrastructure, the proximity to infrastructure also plays a role in regards to the viability of farming the sun. In other words, the closest zone substation, and transformers all plays a role. Now, we're assuming a 500 kilowatt system that takes up approximately 1 hectare of land, including access and roads. Now, depending on your geographic location, this will vary in regards to the size of land that the system takes up. 500 kilowatt, taking out 1 hectare is very, very conservative. But the further you go geographically towards Antarctica or towards the Arctic, the gap between the rows tends to increase if you're talking about a static system. So a 500 kilowatt system produces on average per year in Victoria 657,000 kilowatt hours. Now, if you're looking at a levelised cost at 20 cents per kilowatt hour, you're looking at a little over 131K per year. Now, let's assume the price of the system complete is 750K. The payback period is approximately 5.7 years. And the system keeps on producing rain, hail and shine. This is a good thing from the farmer's perspective. They're used to dealing with all the vagaries of nature, whereas the solar panels are pretty consistent based on predicted and past irradiation levels. They're going to keep on producing for 25 years plus, rain, hail or shine. So that's something that the farmer can use to their advantage from a financial perspective. You can still graze sheep, etc., as the panel rows have spacing between them. Now, unlike solar, a livestock farm must take into account returns that will decrease based on the fertility and associated inputs that a farm must include. A solar system doesn't care, and its ability to provide a steady, predictable income is not impaired at all. In fact, as long as there's sun, you have an income, and an income that has a predictability that does not exist with any other crop or livestock. Now, this predictable income can enable a farmer to more easily approach their finance source, banks, etc., with confidence in regards to securing loans for future farm development, increasing livestock numbers, or acquiring additional land holdings. Conclusion. Farming presents many obstacles. Consistency of income is probably one of the most crucial factors affecting long-term viability. Adopting a prudent approach to cost-benefit analysis allows farmers to make the best decisions. Incorporating a solar system into the farming mix is one of the best ways to buffer against nature's whims. We hope you enjoyed this presentation on agrivoltaics. It truly is a wonderful thing. It really is a no-brainer from my perspective. Food, water, energy, what's not to love. Now, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe so we can make more of these videos, and also subscribe to our Greenwood Academy where we offer online and live training, both paid and free. And see you next time. And keep those suggestions coming.